Welcome, Dadas all over Kenya and East Africa. You are watching the Dadas Show. We are always honored when you watch us. We are on KBC Channel 1. We come to you every Sunday at 4 p.m. Karibuni sana. Did you know that April is designated National Awareness Autism Month? Yes. And it passed us by, but I thought, let's revisit. Let's revisit and find out, what does it mean to have autism? What do people go through when they have autism? What should we know as women, as ladies, as dadas? How do we support people with autism? So on my show today, I want to welcome two very wonderful ladies. Karibuni, Warembo. Yeah. I'll start with Sarah Bosibori, Karibu, and Linda.
Thank you.
Karibuni.
Asante.
So please introduce yourselves.
Okay, my name is Sarah Bosibori. I am an autistic advocate. I am also an adult living with autism. Yes, and lots of things other than that.
Yeah.
So,
You forgot to tell us you're also a winner of a beauty pageant.
Yes, I was the previous Light of Autism Kenya 2019 to 2020.
Okay.
Yes.
Karibu.
Asante.
Yes.
I'm Linda Gakuru. I am a mother of 3, an 18-year-old, a 14-year-old, about to turn 20, and a 5-year-old.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So ladies, I'll start with you, Sarah. How did you know, or how did your parents know you were autistic?
Okay, I was born prematurely, and that led to like challenges. I was cross-eyed. Around 1 year is when I was diagnosed with autism.
Okay.
I also have a weakness of the left side. Like my right side is shorter than the left side.
Oh, okay.
So that's my physical disability, but it's not really a disability. Yeah.
Okay. So sort of physically you have this, you're a bit disadvantaged on your left, or is it on your right hand side?
On my left side.
On your left side.
Yeah, but it's not that much.
Yeah, but it's not.
Yeah.
We didn't even see it. We didn't notice it. Yeah. But what were other signs that something was off? What do your parents say?
I delayed a bit in speech.
Yeah.
Although I was a really fast crawler. So that was like part of like the hyperactivity coming in now. So yeah, signs came more when I was in school.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you went to school, what happened?
My academics were low. I was a slow learner. I couldn't read well. I couldn't write as well. So now those were like, I can't say red flags, but those pointed out that I might be autistic.
Yeah.
So from now being diagnosed at a younger age, my parents were, because not so many people knew about autism in the early 2000s. So they were told by teachers, you might have to take Sarah to a special school. That's when everything just changed. Yeah. Okay.
We'll stop there. So how old was this when this was declared that you have to take Sarah to a special school?
A little bit late, I think at the age of 9, turning 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in the middle of all that, there must have been a lot of activity, going to hospitals, seeing specialists. There must have been some activity. What was that like for you?
For me, I didn't like, I can say I didn't recognize stuff as a child because now like the signs were more than, and I wasn't aware that I was autistic. I just knew I was this hyperactive child who just loved going everywhere. And yeah, I was very a happy, jolly kid. Yeah.
Okay, so you were very happy and jolly.
Yeah.
Okay, it's interesting that for many people, and this I'll ask you, Linda, we don't recognize autism because it's almost masked in the odd child.
Yes.
You do have a child who is autistic.
Yes. Actually, now it's been confirmed that there are 2 who are autistic.
Oh, no.
I
Okay.
did not know during the diagnosis of the 3rd one is when I discovered that also ADHD is on the spectrum, and my firstborn has ADHD. So yes, it's an odd child.
Yes, the odd child is always moving,
Yes,
you know,
yes.
and very whatever.
And is everywhere, and it's the happiest child. You know, the child living their childhood,
Yeah.
the one who's going to go and discover that there's a ball under that grass somehow. It's that child who is the oddball, yeah, and really having fun and being happy. That's a child you never expect that diagnosis for, and then now you're told, actually, it's not that quiet one, It's not that one who sits down and obeys rules. It's this one who is always all over and happy and playing. This one is the one we need to check, yeah? Okay. And that's what happened with my first and second born, because the first born, I took the second born to hospital because I was like, she's so quiet. There's something wrong with this one. And the doctor is looking at me like, you don't think it's this one? Because then she was standing over the doctor's head, on top of the doctor's seat, looking at the doctor over her head.
Yeah, over his head.
Yes, and the doctor is like, you don't think it's this one? And I'm looking at her like, no, it's this one. Look at her, she's so quiet. And that's what I think she's saying. She was just happy. My daughter was happy. And when the diagnosis came, I was like, what is that? You know, because ADHD, you never heard about it. It was not something that you were told. So at that point...
How did you suspect that there was something off with the child? What made you think, let me go to hospital?
With my firstborn,
with your firstborn, yeah.
It was the secondborn who was worried.
Yeah.
That one is a normal one, the one with no issue.
Yeah.
I thought she had an issue because she was too slow.
Yeah.
In my thinking.
Yeah.
Because this girl was everywhere. Actually, there's a friend of ours who's like, oh my God, we gave her jet fuel again because of the way she's just everywhere. She'll be in the pool, she'll be out of the pool, she'll be on top of the building, she'll be under the building, she'll be somewhere. She was always everywhere. So I never, that one, there was nothing odd. She was my firstborn. I've never experienced raising a child. But for my thirdborn, and that's the one who was first diagnosed as autistic. For that one, it was one day I was like, I asked my house girl, hey, why have you had him call us? And she was like, by the way, okay, let's keep an eye on that. So that was at around 18 months. Why has it gone all of a sudden silent? And my husband was like, by the way, you know, he used to call dad, mom, and now all of a sudden he's quiet. He doesn't want to look at you. He's looking at you like this. You know, he doesn't want to like make eye contact. He's holding his ears all the time. So I'm like, something is odd here. Maybe the TV is too loud. Maybe something is odd. So we would reduce all the volumes, and he'd still do that, and he's not talking. So that's when I started suspecting something's wrong. So we did the whole routine of going for checkups, and him being a boy, you're told, don't worry, boys are slow, yeah. And he just, I think he sabotaged his first what is it called, assessment by answering the doctor's phone, hello. So the doctor's like, he's talking. Why are we worried? Go back home. And I'm like, there's something I'm not.
Yeah, as a mother, there's always something and you can tell.
And this is number 3.
Yeah,
there's something that is not just clicking. So his diagnosis came about by a doctor friend observing him after church and going like, you need to take him to a neurologist. This needs to be checked out. Those sounds he's making, all this playing alone needs to be checked out. why is he taking all the toys and just sitting by himself and playing by himself? All this needs to be checked out. And that's when we went and saw a neurologist, Dr. Oyatsi, and he was like, oh, you guys must have known. He's autistic. And you're like,
no, we didn't know.
no, we didn't know. Nobody has told you? No. I thought you went to Gertrude. Okay, sorry. Can I mention
You went to hospital.
We went to hospital.
You went to some kind of a hospital.
Yes, and they must have told you. And I'm like, no, they didn't. But he's a happy boy. There's nothing wrong with him. The only problem is he holds his ear and he's not talking. So he told us, don't worry, just, I think I've seen you guys again. I was like, yeah, 13, about 16 years ago, we were here with a young girl. And she, ADHD is now on the spectrum. So this is also part of the spectrum. So I was like, okay. And all you have to do is take him to school. And I did that. Okay, that's simple. All you have to do is take autistic children to school. Happy solution. Not a problem. Registered him in school like 2 weeks later. And we were seated back as parents, believing that we've done our jobs. Yeah.
So what is autism? Because we hear this word a lot, and we actually don't know. For some of us, we don't even know what it is. What is autism?
Okay, I would say autism is a neurological developmental condition that affects the way a person communicates, a person behaves, like I was saying, the way a person can like really move their hands or like shake their legs. It's like now they're trying to calm themselves down because we Autis, that's like a nickname. That's a cool name.
So your nickname is Autis.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
It's meant for us to like calm down in such situations, because in a surrounding environment, we are wired differently than neurotypicals. So that's a way of like calming ourselves down.
Okay. So when you're autistic, do you hear and see things louder? How would you describe how you relate with the world?
Yeah, there are like certain situations, like maybe in this studio where like there's the light that comes, it's too bright, or like certain sounds are really, how do you say?
They're very sharp.
Really sharp, to the ear.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's why you guys hold your ear.
Yeah, hold the ear.
Okay. And then is it that you see things closer, more vividly? And we need to understand. Is it that you see things too much? You hear things too much? So somebody was trying to explain to me about autism, and they said it's like if everything was increased in volume. Is that, they were saying like, ongeza volume to everything. So you see everything more, you hear everything more, it's too much. So so they were explaining that they literally you shut down, like it's too much. So you just have your mind just decides to give yourself a break.
Okay, the unique thing about autism is that we're all different.
Oh,
I might not feel or experience that way as the rest of other.
So they are different. Like everybody has their own type of autism.
Yeah.
Oh my word.
That's why it's a spectrum.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an autism autism spectrum disorder.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
how do you experience your own autism?
Mine, okay, I can say my level of autism is mild because I can express myself.
Yeah.
Although many people say like, hey, Sarah, you don't look autistic. But you know, autism is invisible. And I can't say overcome because I still live with the condition, people living with autism don't overcome, they just manage it and we cope with it.
Okay.
So my signs are there. I have dyscalculia. I am really bad with arithmetics, even the simple kinds.
So you can't add, multiply?
I can add, but there are some that refuse. Yeah.
Okay, thank God for the calculator.
Yeah.
It was created just for you. So like addition, numbers in the world of numbers.
Yeah.
The world of numbers are not good
Yeah.
for you. Okay. What about your son?
The funny thing is, she has this dyscalculia. My son has hyperlexia. Now, I thought it was a good thing, because if your child can read and write at 2, but cannot talk, that was a weird combination. So he used to write for us what he wants, which is quite odd.
At 2 years
At
old.
2 years old, he could write. He could actually, the way we discovered that he could write, I found writings on the wall. So I called the big girls and I was giving them a lecture. Someone, nice one, telling them, well, how your
can you write?
age,
Yes.
you know, because the age difference is really big. So at your age, how are you writing on the wall? What is right? I'm going to punish you. You're going to scrap this off. Then there's somebody who's snickering at the corner, and I'm like, I'm ignoring him because I think he's just been in his own little world. Then one day he was too quiet. Like a week later, I go and I find him. He's writing, and the first thing was like, "Oh my God, it's not you guys! It's not you guys!" So that's how I discovered his writing, and from there he started writing to us what he wants. And then that's when we went for, at that point is when we went for further testing. Because the first line we go to of doctors is neurologist, as parents. You run there. But there is a practice in medicine that deals with our children, our autism. There is the neurodevelopmental pediatricians. There are only 3 in Kenya, so their line is not short. But they're the ones who now delve deeper and just look at what exactly is affecting the neurological development of this child, which part is affected. Because as you heard, it's a spectrum. She might not have the reaction
she
to...
has the communication.
Yeah, my son doesn't.
Yeah.
He has writing, though he's starting to say a few words here and there, which may develop to speech, may not develop, and that's something we have will I think come back to, may or may not develop to speech. So when we went there and we were now further diagnosed, they were like, oh, and he has hyperlexia. That means he can read and write. He taught himself.
He taught himself to read and
write
at
before
2.
age 3. Actually, that's a definition of hyperlexia. So that means that's a savant skill. So
what's that? You guys have got such big words. What is that? What's a savant skill?
It's you remember, I think there's a naughty who trended a lot, Cody Lee. He won American Got Talent.
Yeah.
His savant skill is music. He can play music. He can, and without even being taught, they teach themselves. As in, you don't have to then to. We don't even interfere in his reading and writing. He's teaching himself. So
how does he? Did he come across books? How did he start reading and writing? That's so odd.
The first thing we notice is Safaricom everywhere. Safaricom, M-Pesa, Safaricom. Then we realize, because of when you're walking home and coming back from home from the shop, everywhere's written Safaricom, M-Pesa, Safaricom. So that's what was all over our walls. Then it went to KTN Home, KBC Channel 1, and it was all these things that he sees. Then he got an interest in books. So by the age of 3, he was reading his own books. He was sitting down and reading books and giggling. And I'm like, okay, that's weird. I've never taught him how to read. And him being autistic, reading is not one of those activities he liked. It was, he preferred sitting down and just playing by himself. He never came to you with a book. So even if you tried to go to him with a book, he doesn't want you to read for him. So he'd take the book and sit down and read and start giggling. And we were like, no, this can't be possible.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So what's your skill?
My skill, I love anything to do with ICT. So before coronavirus happened, I was at Strathmore doing a special course in autistic, something Tech. So it's an overall thing on IT, graphic design, programming, and stuff like that. But the good thing about the course was it came about by a parent who also has a child with autism. So he knew that autistics, some of them, are very good at ICT. So yeah, I went that line of ICT, and I really was interested in becoming a programmer.
Okay.
Yeah, and software
And
development.
then again, it's self-taught.
Yes.
It's not like actually you go to a school, you develop an interest, and it's self-taught, and you just go with it. You run off with it. Okay, that's amazing. Now, for the rest of us who are, do you call us what?
Neurotypicals.
Neurotypicals.
Yeah.
For the rest of us who are neurotypicals, obviously we don't understand you people. What are some of the challenges that we present in your world? Yeah? Before we go into a break, because I want us to come back and talk about your interaction, because you have your own world. You have your own world with your own terms and everything. But what are some of the things that you notice about the typicals, us guys?
We go through the stigma of, yes, you guys are seeing us different, but it all boils down to like, hiya. Like, I'm not so different. Like, I can communicate with you. It's just that I'm wired differently, you know? Or maybe if I'm switching moods, or like I just don't want to keep eye contact with you, but I can still listen to you. It doesn't mean that I'm ignoring you. So, you know, there's that stigma where people are like, she's weird, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
So we typicals find you guys weird.
Very.
Okay.
And you
Which
find
is a good thing.
Yeah, and you find us mothers of autis not disciplinarians. As in
we find your children absolutely shocking.
Absolutely shocking. They're a nuisance. They're not disciplined. They are wild, and there's nothing much we can do about it. Because, as she said, one child might be comfortable in this light. And then I come here with my child, and he's not comfortable. So he'll ask me, she's autistic, she's fine. Why? How comes this one is not fine? They just react differently. It's a whole spectrum. Okay. So it's not one shoe fit all, one size fit all. Yeah. It's different reactions to different things. Yeah,
that's very interesting. There's a term you used, ADHD.
ADHD.
What is that?
Attention deficiency,
hyperactivity disorder.
Attention deficiency hyperactivity disorder.
Yeah.
That's in the spectrum of autism.
Now it is. Before it wasn't. Before it was treated differently, but now it is.
Okay.
It is part of the spectrum.
How do you know? Because in my mind, I know many people who suffer from this. ADHD. Yeah. Actually, I think I know one person. That just jumped on me that I know one person who actually suffers from this attention deficiency. How do you know you suffer from attention deficiency?
Okay, for my daughter, it's the speed, it is the activity, it is there was no sitting down, and then she would sleep like this, as it was like a switch. Tick. Then she'd wake up, poof, and she's gone. As in, there was no, you know, the way you load.
There's no transition.
There's no transition. It was, we are asleep, we are gone, we are active, we are doing everything. As in, the way you load and you wake up and you stretch, no, that was not her. It was wake up the door or the kitchen and then go, and you're gone, and you're like, wow.
I told you I have to go into a break. I'm just thinking about the person I'm talking about. I'm thinking about them. They do have this. I know, ladies, you probably know people like that. You didn't even know they were unwell. You just thought they had lots of energy. We have to go into a break. We'll be right back. Welcome back, Dadas. Today we are talking about autism. Just because April was National Awareness Month for the autistic community, and I've just learned they're called Autis. So it was their month, and I thought even if it's May, let's just give them a chance to come and tell us who they are and what their stories are, and they have nice stories. So you've said, I was really surprised when you talked about stigma between the two of you, because I really thought you guys would say, you call us typicals? We typicals are generally very, very unaware. We are completely ignorant of what happens, especially when we hear about autism. We think we know, but I think we don't know. There's a lot we don't know. What are some of the things, Sarah, that you wish people knew about the world of autism?
I would want people to know that just because we're different, it's like personalities.
Yeah.
You might be hyperactive, you might be like, oh, that's outgoing person. It's the same thing with autism.
Okay.
Only that we are wired completely different from the neurotypicals. No, for atypicals, that's us.
Yeah.
Or people living with autism.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, the reason why we're afraid of you, sometimes we meet some of you who are really like, they border on the, I think on the like disabled, on the disabled spectrum, and sometimes we don't know how to behave, especially when they are older or when they are louder. Sometimes they are, as you said, you are steaming, so we don't know how should we behave, because sometimes we don't know whether to help. Sometimes we don't know whether should we help.
Yeah.
Should we not help? Should we get involved? Should we not get involved? It's just we don't know what to do. What do we do?
I would say not get really involved, because it might be confusing for many people, but just understanding, just not do anything, don't judge, just understand.
Don't judge.
Don't
Yes.
judge. They feel judged. They can feel it, and I have realized that they sense it so deeply, even with my son. I can tell when he's being judged, because he starts making a sound, a very deep sound, and he's only 5. Also, there's a parent who actually described it very well. Being autistic, bringing somebody who's autistic to a neurotypical environment, or a child who has mental disabilities or something, it's like the same situation as for a typical person, like being in you're going to console your friends for a loss, a death. You have been pulled into it. You weren't warned. You've just been pulled, and you don't know what to say and what to do. So what is the best reaction? To sit, don't judge, just be there, and be present. Okay. So that's the same thing with autism. Just be present, don't judge, just be there. Let them know that you're there. You're supporting the meltdown they're going through, because they have tantrums and they have meltdowns.
Yeah, they do.
And the difference is so slight, even as a parent to pick it. It's kind of tricky, but with time you kind of learn. Yeah. Meltdowns, they need support. Tantrums, they need to be ignored. Sorry,
oh, really? Yeah.
sorry.
Okay. Yeah. So they are having they're just venting.
Yeah.
Like if I was venting, I'd use words.
Yeah.
So they are using their bodies or whatever.
Yeah. So tantrums you ignore, meltdowns you support. Okay. And so sometimes like you can notice that maybe after a while sitting like this, maybe she might need a bit of a break to walk away. So you support something like that. I'm not saying that she do, but maybe you support things like that. Yeah. You're just present and yeah.
I was reading somewhere as I prepared for this show that there are things that we should not do, like asking people. There were several suggestions, like don't ask people, why is your son behaving like that? Don't ask.
Please don't.
There are several suggestions that were made when I was preparing for the show that was like, don't, what are the don'ts? Like don't don't keep asking the parent what's wrong with your child, or don't keep asking your child when they go to a public place like a restaurant, why are they eating like that? You know, what are some of the things you just say, please don't do that?
I would say, okay, as per my experience, don't say sorry that I have autism.
So when you say I have, don't say sorry.
Don't.
Okay.
Don't say that I'm using my autism as an excuse, because I have it. It's a lifetime thing. It's not going to be cured. We have no cure of autism. We don't know when it will be. So you can't just tell me you're using autism for an excuse. Okay, that one I just knew when I was like slightly older. Don't say autism is a mental condition, because
it's not.
It's not.
Yeah, don't start asking whether you have a mental condition, because it's not a mental condition. It's a neurological condition.
Yeah, those are the don'ts from me.
Anything for as
From
a parent?
Oh, okay, I have a list. Where do I start?
Yeah, don't.
Don't. Please stop judging us.
Yeah.
I know it's difficult, because it's normal, it's natural for you to judge us. We have had sleepless nights. My child has insomnia, so I have not slept for maybe 3-4 days. So I'm a bit cranky. Then here you are telling me that, oh, your child is so undisciplined. You haven't done this. I'll just pick up my child and walk away, because I don't want that whole thing. So please don't judge us. Please stop being there's a way I don't know
condescending,
how to,
like we are condescending, like we think we are better than you guys.
Yeah, like no. Imagine they're a gift. My son Taji is such a beautiful. I can't imagine my life without him. It is expensive, so if you can, the dues is if you can throw an envelope and pesa to a parent with a special need, that will go
That's
along.
helpful.
That's helpful.
Yeah.
Then most likely what you're suggesting that they should do, especially a child whose parents have been getting them therapy, has been seeing specialists, 90% of the things you're suggesting they do, they've done.
There are only 3 doctors,
Yeah.
so you say 3 pediatricians,
Neurodevelopmental
pediatricians
that I know of in Kenya.
that you know of in Kenya.
And only 2 are practicing.
The other one is what? A doctor or
I think he's lecturing.
a lecturer?
Yeah.
Okay. So when you go to the doctor, there's only 2 of them. That must take you all day, all week.
Yeah,
That's when you're a patient.
Yes.
that's when the word patient means.
It means something. Getting an appointment for my son takes 2 months. To see either to be seen at Aga Khan, because we started with Dr. Wamiki. We're sticking with, so we are going on with her. But it takes about 2 months to see her on neurodevelopmental issues. Like now we've discovered that there's some medicines that are not working for him, because apparently I did not know this until now we went to see her. The preservatives in that medicine is just escalating issues. Who would have known?
Who would have known?
As a normal parent, you're given medicine, you take it, you take home, you give, you're fine. Us guys, we have to look at the preservative, the color, the sugar levels, the what. Who would have known?
In terms of diet, what do you eat? Do you have any
Okay, for
restrictions?
me, I don't really.
Because I know that you guys don't do well with sugar.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I hear
sugar levels.
I hear when your sugar levels, when you take things like soda, things with lots of sugar, you guys just go like.
Yeah, but it's different with all of us, because for me, I can take sugar, but I recently noticed that it's even me for me. But milk, I don't do well with milk that much. Otherwise, the rest I can take.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yours is mild.
Yeah, mine is mild.
Yours
Yeah.
is mild. Your son?
And as you grow older,
then it
it becomes less. You know, when they're smaller, the neurons are more. They're more concentrated. As you become older, they develop also.
Okay.
So when for my son right now, we are not doing milk. We cannot do milk. We cannot do sugar. We cannot do wheat. We cannot do color E, dye color E, I think. We have realized it's a problem, yellow color dye. So that means crisps out, the flavored crisps are out, tomato sauce is out. Yeah, I know. Soda is out. So unless Sprite Light, which I think is out of the market now, sweets are out unless they're sugarless sweets. Yeah, so you learn such things. Bread is out, so unless gluten-free bread. There's these alternatives, but they are pretty penny.
They are very, very pricey.
They are expensive. Okay. So no milk for him, because we have noticed milk is like you have fueled him. You have, I don't know how to put it, you've lit a firecracker in a house that will go on for like 3 hours. Yeah. So,
wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So your dad is. What about your relationships now? Like, especially now that you're a grown up. Does it affect how you relate with people, or have you learned to cope?
I've learned to cope, and being older, you understand some things. Yeah, they're okay. I used to have so many friends, but now, like, when I started opening up, because guys in college didn't know that I had autism. They always knew that I was this slow, strange person. Yeah, but ever since me opening up about being autistic, I had less friends. Okay, I didn't want so many friends, because, you know, as an adult, you start adulting. Yeah, so, yeah.
Yeah. So when you opened up, and when you tell people, like, if you go on a date and you say, oh, by the way, I'm autistic, is there a shock on somebody's face?
Okay, yeah.
People go like, what?
I can say, okay, the ones that I have dated, because I'm dating, yes?
Yeah.
He knows I'm autistic.
Okay.
So there are things I open up to him, pole, so that he can understand. Yeah, you can't just go, I'm autistic, blah, blah, blah.
He's a, what were we called? Typical.
Yeah, you're typical.
Yeah,
he's
neurotypical. Is he neurotypical like us, like the rest of us?
Yes.
He's neurotypical.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's pole. You don't want to overwhelm him.
Yeah, it gets. Actually, I read somewhere where they say that if you're older and you're an autistic, you might want to go for therapy with your partner, so that at least he understands. Because I go through meltdowns, burnouts, and people don't understand what burnouts are. Because recently I've been having a burnout. Like, I've been advocating for so many autistics for like 2 years. I also I'm in a group called Kenya Autism Alliance. They're full of parents who have children living with autism and cerebral palsy. So all that,
there was a lot of activity.
Yeah, you burn out. And as well as my previous title as Light of Autism Kenya, you're trying to educate Kenyans about autism. As per my experience, it gets so much. Yeah.
What about you, Linda? How has this affected your relationships?
I have lost friends. I think I have only one friend now remaining who you can call close. I have lost a lot of friends because you need to be present for this child, and you need to be present for them like throughout. There is no break. You know, you're present for them when they're awake, and sometimes that's up to 3 a.m. in the morning. You're present for them when they're they're at home, when they're asleep. You have to function as a human being. So that can have a toll on your also mental health as a parent. So that's something I've had to realize and work on thoroughly for myself. There's only, I usually tell her, you're the only one who understands my madness, because half of the time I'll be talking to her, then the next half she's like, who are you talking to? I'm like, oh no, sorry, it's Taji. And she's like, oh, okay. And she'll be patiently waiting, and then we continue with the conversation. And then there's some days I'll tell her, don't call me this week, please, let it stay. Or I just go silent, because as much as I'm raising him, I'm going, at that point I was going to work. Now with COVID-19 and the way,
working from home.
Actually it's more of a layoff. So and then his therapies and all these things that you have to get involved in. His school, you have to go some days to just learn how to handle him. You have to be there for let's say occupational therapy. You have to be there for speech therapy. You have to be there for music therapy. There's so many therapies that are needed to help him cope, to help him deal. And all these activities give them burnout, and they also give you as a neurotypical burnout. So it has affected quite a lot, because there are very few people who understand what, as you said, autism. And then it's very difficult for them also to cope with the fact that you're now an autistic parent. The attention you're giving them, you can't anymore. Yeah.
Is there something the government can do differently? Although I don't like to ask this question, but is there something that we can, besides the community, is there something we can do differently?
I think a lot to do with recognition, as in, because in as much as they've given us the disability card, but it's meant for, like, it's mostly recognized for people that are physically challenged, not people who have neurological developmental conditions like dyslexia, cerebral palsy, autism. Those are neurological conditions that need to be recognized. So, yeah, I would love the government to recognize us as much as that recognizing the rest with physical disabilities. Just that.
You want me to start now, government?
No, because I've been told we have to wrap up. But just a quick thought. What can the government do?
Oh, there's a lot. It's autism, as she said, they're invisible disabilities. You can't look at somebody. I mean, you looked at her. Did you see any disability? No. Okay, so the definition of disability in Kenya has been physical. Now, to prove this takes a bit of work, and I want to thank quite a lot of people who've been advocating for us for our children and for autism to be recognized under the National Council of People Living with Disabilities, because it was an uphill task just getting neurological issues being recognized as a disability. The other thing is availability of therapies. Yes, they're available in public hospitals, and yes, they in some places are free, but we need more. As in, like, case in point, KISE does therapies, but they'll pick the first 15 children. They're like 60 or 70 standing outside there. A mother who's woken up and walked all the way there to have therapy, or a father. The other thing is to reduce the cost of therapy. It's too expensive. I was calculating with her, the cheapest place I know, Kenyatta, you need about 14,000 shillings per month to have therapy, OT and speech, if you're going to go there with the intervals that you're prescribed for. And then equip these places. God, you should see Kenyatta's OT. I hope it has improved, but before COVID, they desperately needed equipment. Please equip these therapy centers, and if it's possible, to build an autism center where all these children, a big one, you know, the size of KNH, but just be for autistics. Because what happens is that if it's not therapized, if it's not recognized, if you don't do something for a child early enough, these children then, because they are trying to mask so much, they're trying to do so much to be normal, to be accepted. And because usually we beat them. In the African tradition, we beat ADHDs, we beat autism, we beat them to learn. We are beaten to learn. That's the way it was, yeah? But the culture is changing slightly. But what is happening, these people are masking, and it's bringing up other issues now, mental issues. That's why even right now, if you go to KNH, autism has been seen under the mental department, psychiatric department. But if they could do something right now to therapize these children, to give, I don't know, to equip the facilities that they have, to do all these therapies, the mental cases will reduce. Mental health will be sorted by nearly half. Because if you look at CDC, the CDC's data on autism, it's 55% children between the year 2008 and 2020, I think. I'm not sure of those dates, but 55% children are on the ASD spectrum, as in on the autism spectrum.
55% of children born are in the spectrum of and from the one hyperactivity to autism, to full-blown autism.
Yeah, and that's 0 to 5 years, born during that period of 2015 to 2020. There are the findings are 55% are on the spectrum. Now, if you have 55% of your population at that age, that means there's a period you will have a very high population of adults
with mental illness.
Yes, because they have been. Like right now, I'm so sure she's masking a lot. She's trying to keep it together for this. She'll need time to like decompress. And she's learned those coping mechanisms. Now, if she did not have those coping mechanisms, I don't think we'd even finish this interview. I can. Am I right? We wouldn't finish this interview.
We have to really finish this interview. Thank you, ladies, so much for coming. You've really been educative. I think for the neurotypicals like us, we are very sorry if we've hurt you out of our ignorance. I speak on behalf of many ladies who just we didn't know any better. And keep up the good work. Keep the struggle. Dadas, we've come to the end of this show. As always, I learn as you learn. I am always as surprised as you are. 55% of children born may be in the spectrum from hyperactivity to full-blown autism. And we're just sitting at home and we don't know. Do check. Do check. Educate yourself. Educate other people around you. And if you have you're living with a person with autism, be strong. Be of good courage. You shall overcome. Have a great week. Baraka.